The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. The prosecutor may now resume the presentation of the lines of documents.
Mr. President, thank you. Can I say that I've been with the AV unit over the break, and we are now able to present two videos that were not available earlier, as the court may recall. Can I say that I'm pretty sure that the fault for them not being available earlier is down to me and not down to the AV unit. But can they play, please, first of all, video number 10. This was an extract from a film, Cambodia, Year 015. It's 23 seconds. It shows a brief glimpse of the evacuation of Phnom Penh and then some footage of incidents on roads in the countryside. So, number 10, please, with Mr. President's leave.
The President. AV technicians are instructed to play the video clip number 10 as requested by the prosecutor.
Thank you. And the next video is video number 11. This was an extract taken from a documentary, Cambodia, A History of Genocide. This is 1 minute and 12 seconds. It will show events at the French embassy. And I mentioned earlier that a gentleman holding a jacket at one stage is Sirik Matak. And there's also some brief clips of the route that the French diplomats, journalists and others took on their trip towards the border. So, again, with your leave, please, Mr. President, video number 11.
AV technician, please place the relevant clips number 11 as per the request by the prosecutor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now move to another section of this document presentation, the section dealing with Tulpol Tray. Can I explain the format of this part of the presentation? I'll be reading extracts from a very brief number of documents, and then playing a film to you. I'll go through the documents first, if I may, and then explain the film. First document on this theme, E3/51, again, the compilation from the Times newspaper. Khmer reference 006444730, French 00597847, and English 00003282. This is a newspaper article that's headed Thursday, the 24th of April, and this is the relevant extract. Jean Remy, head of the French Planters Association and Cambodia's most influential Frenchman, is here after a week on the roads. He says he hears the Khmer Rouge are executing army officers at the rubber nurseries in the suburbs. The next document, E3/3372, Khmer ERN 00831549, English 00445435. This is an extract I'm reading from an article that appeared in the Washington Post on the 4th of June 1975. There have also been reports, including some intercepted messages, that the communists are executing the entire families of former military officers and high civilian officials. Next, E3/3316. First reference in Khmer will be on page 00591055. French 00607928 through 29. English 00419920. This is an extract from an Amnesty International news release. It is dated the 30th of March, 1978. The heading of the news release is Amnesty International urges Cambodia to respond to allegations of summary executions. And the text on this extract is as follows. AI, Amnesty International, referred to refugee accounts that the situation in democratic Kampuchea since the change of government in April 1975 has been characterized by large-scale killings. In 1975 and early 1976, refugees reported that many officers and soldiers of the defeated Republican Army had been executed in the months following the Khmer Rouge accession to power. Many refugees spoke of the summary execution of former Republican Army soldiers. Some had heard about the killings from acquaintances or were told by Khmer Rouge soldiers. others reported that they had seen mass graves or corpses with army clothing. Khmer Rouge soldiers and local officials have sought to identify those people who had held positions in the former administration. So that, Mr. President, deals with the document elements of the Tool Portrait presentation. Next, with your leave, Mr. President, can I please show to the court an extract from a document on the case file described as "One Day at Portrait." Can I explain to the defence, this whole film was initially 26 minutes long. It's been edited down to 19 minutes and 53 seconds, and the exact cut time is shown on the email which has now been sent to all parties. This is video number 12, One Day at Portrait. Mr. President, with your leave, can that be played to the court?
The President, AV assistants, please play the video clip as per the request by the prosecution.
Mr. President, can I add, which I should have done, this is a film or a clip that is made by Tet Sambat. He has other material on the case file, but this is a particular film or clip dedicated to this subject. Thank you. Sorry, forgive me, Mr. President. This clip is in Khmer with English subtitles, and so it perhaps can be played with sound so that those members of the public and indeed everyone else can hear it in Khmer with the English subtitles and a French commentary. So please, the sound please on this clip.
The President, AV technician, please follow this request. Why do you want to go there? Let's just me speak with her for a moment. Did you see them taken along this road? Yes, along this road during Pol Pot regime. They go past Po Pring, then you will reach there. Were there many people taken there to be killed? Yes, there were. They killed them. They actually took them for education, but actually that meant death to those people. My father was also sent to Po Chray. Was he your biological father? Yes, he was. Was he a soldier? Yes, he was a soldier. He was a colonel at that time. Well, they say that soldier with the rank of colonel would be sent for study session. So everyone were trying to climb the truck at that time for education. He told me at that time that he was to go for education. Where is Uncle Jim's house? Further north. I follow my buffalo there. They had run away, so I followed them. I did not know that many people had been killed over there. When I got there, I saw bodies everywhere. They were tied together. What condition were they in? They weren't yet decomposed or swollen because I got there the morning after, but I could hear the sound of decomposing bodies. They weren't swollen yet. What did you hear? Well, the sound like of the decomposing body. They were all dead actually, and the body. After we die, the air inside our body moves and makes a noise.
Why?
If you had seen it, you would have run away because my hair stood on end at that time and I ran home immediately. May I borrow a small piece of rope? Give it to your grandpa so he can show us. What did you see? Please demonstrate it. They tie it around twice, and then you would be connected in the same way all together. They were tied tightly with strong knots like this. And the remaining rope was pulled through. The hands were bound very close together. How many of them were there bound together? There were maybe 20 bodies tied to each piece of rope. So they pull the one end of the rope through like this, from one end to another. I bathe in it when I come to the farm, but I never drink the water. I know this is where bodies were buried and left, so I didn't dare drink it. At the meeting, they told us we were to be up at around 4 the next morning to get a truck in order to attack Tulpojray. And we woke up at 4 a.m. Everyone was there together and we got on the truck. We traveled out from Posat and got to Tulpojray. It was at dawn. Our commander, by the name of Clem, was on the guard post announcing the plan on a loudspeaker. Soldiers were from the zone and our units from different units, around 1,000 of them, and our group were called the preventive unit. And they told us very clearly that if any targets manage to escape, then our preventive unit must take all necessary measures, or else the plan would fail.
And about 7 a.m. we heard the sounds of the trucks approaching. The trucks came first. And then they announced special units, be ready. It was the third day that people had to be taken to portray. We knew already about the plans that they were taken and killed. They were important people. They knew that they were just going away from their wives for a few nights, and after they made with some like then they would be back to their old jobs. They said that for that reason they had no worries at all, and they were teasing each other. For example, what's your wife packed for you? However, they were in civilian clothes, and the provincial governor wore white with a straw hat. They looked ordinary because the Khmer Rouge wore black uniforms and they wore scarf on their neck, and they tried to look like farmers. They wore simple, ordinary clothes with straw hats. They made small chats in the vehicles. It was a relaxed atmosphere, and that nothing seems to happen in the future. Nobody knew about what happened. And when they climbed down from the tracks, there was an announcement on the loudspeaker that all comrades, do not be afraid, that you will meet Angkar and you'll be meeting with the prince. Then their arms were tied. It was one trap after another, and then they were led away. So they killed one another, one after another. And the brains scattered everywhere. The brain and the blood mixed together. They did not just shoot them in the open so that the one in the truck could not see. They could not see the killing, and only up at the side of the pond they could see the dead bodies in the pit, and then they fell weak and cried. They fell weak to their knees and they cried. Some of them shouted out curses that you are godless devils, you are animals. Because when they saw the dead bodies, they cursed. But some could not walk. They became weak and they were kicked before they arrived at the place. There was a small car, and he came out. And I said that Thun looked like the uncle. And Thun said, who? I said, the tall man. That's my uncle Nut. So I walked over to that distance near the barn, and I saw my cousin Sri Samna, that is his daughter. Then I realized that it was really my uncle. Then I retreated and did not want him to see, because I'm afraid that he would shout asking for my help. Then I would have been implicated. Instead, I hid away from his side. Then they tied him up together with his daughter and killed them. And when I came here, I feel as if the killing is just happening. First, they killed the people in the pond, and they couldn't. And when it was full, then the bodies were in the field. Before they shot it in that direction, they asked people to kneel in that direction. They shot them in the head, and of course, the stench of the blood was too strong. So I moved away upwind. Did you walk along this road? You mean in the morning? Only along the pond and to the west of the pond, and from 4 p.m. I walked along this area and bodies were everywhere in all directions. So I walked by the fence to the military lines near where the tracks are packed. And we could not walk along this road because they were filled with bodies. So then I walked the other way to join my unit. I asked members of the special unit how many soldiers were killed. He said that there were about 10,000. How many bodies did you see? Based on what you saw at the time. There were many. It fills the field. I could not say exactly how many, but when I spoke to the one who killed those people who were in the special unit and asked, his name was Ball, and he said there could be between 10,000 or 9,000 to 10,000. Please speak a bit louder. Whom did you ask after the shooting? I did not ask him at the time, but it was after we came back. And at that time, the truck actually arrived at the provincial town. I asked, well, how many people were killed because it was everywhere? And he said, it could be at least 8,000 or it could be up to 10,000. So at that time, the soldiers wanted to see the prince because they wanted to get a promotion. And even the fallen rank of soldiers also went along, and for that reason there were many soldiers who died. And some even were not real soldiers. They bought their rank from the market. That is the one on the corner toward the market. They saw the rank there, the insignia. And on the third day, when money was no longer used, then the market closed. When I was small, I came here, but people had already been killed. The soldiers had been killed. And it was like a rubber plantations because the stomach bubbled. What were you told? They told me to dismantle the houses belonging to the commandos. So we dismantled the houses and the bodies were there, and later on they were buried by bulldozers. Tell me exactly what you saw when you came. I saw dead bodies, and I saw them. They cut off the heads from the bodies. So what actually happened, and where did you stand? Can you tell us in details? They put one head over there and on the other side, and over the gate entrance there. So one to the south and one to the north. And can you tell us what was the name? They were Pal and Rund. Only these two got their heads cut off. Rund's head was put to the north and the other one was to the south, but we were not allowed to enter. How were the heads mounted? They were mounted on a pole. It was through the throat. What about Mr. Rund's head? Where did you stand? I actually touched the fence, touched the poles attached to the head. Can you show me? Because at that time the head was sticking on top of the pole. I noticed the kind of tattoo on his chest, but the head was on the other side. How old were you at the time? I was pretty young. As young as those girls over there. But I had a bigger build. How old were you? I was around 11 or 12. Did you see any dead female bodies? There were only three dead females bodies. They were there and they were buried over there. There were only 3 of them. They were naked. Maybe they were raped here under the shade.
Thank you, Mr. President. That concludes the segment of this presentation dealing with Tulpol trade. I'd like to move to make a start, please, on documents relating to Forced Movement 2. The first document is E3/216. Khmer ERN 00008485 and English 00850973. This is a record of the Standing Committee's visit to the North West Zone from the 20th to the 24th of August 1975. The heading is Report on the General Situation in the Base, People Situation. There's an extract as follows. The new people are experiencing shortages of food supplies as well as shortages of medications. On the same document, Khmer ERN 00008487, French 00343375, English 00850974, under the heading Situation of Economy and Crops Diversification, Agriculture, Rice planting. This has been pushed everywhere. Rice is planted on the old land and is also planted on some other land. Planting rice, sowing and transplanting, has been finished in most places in Battambang. Many paddy fields have canals and raised embankments. Water problem has been brought to an extent under mastery. Same document, Khmer ERN 00008488 through 89. French 00343376. English 00850975. There's a heading on the page, National Defence Affairs, and then the heading is Key Problem, Resolving the Political Situation of the People. And the extract has this text. Concretely, it is imperative to strengthen and expand the cooperatives, employing the strength of the cooperatives as the core, making them the hardcore for the absorption of the new people. The next red box is on Khmer page 00008489. And the document says that just before the extract, the cooperatives have already formed functions. Number 2. The function of cooperatives since the total liberation is to absorb all the new people coming out of all the cities and towns, especially Phnom Penh city, and in the northwest, Battambang. Every type of horrible element exists among the hundreds of thousands of new people in Battambang. But the cooperatives have absorbed them completely, supplying them with food and, moreover, deploying their strength to work. And in the next paragraph, but within the same red box, therefore, the cooperatives must be further strengthened and expanded. Next extract, Khmer 00088490, French 00343377 through 78, English 00850976. It's referring to the northwest zone. How must we sort things out? Right, well now we are bogged down a bit, but such obstacles are merely transitional. The people have hope. In the northwest zone, the characteristics of the terrain are extremely favourable, which they can clearly see. The base people are extremely happy, while the new people are happy. It is not like in 404. In that location, they have little hope, brackets, little land, little water, no good paddy, close bracket. Whereas in the northwest, there's lots of hope. They see the potential they enjoy, and they are gratified about this. 1 or 2 years from now, the standard of living will rise. the cooperatives will astound as the paddy fields and water situation are transformed, and goods supply will be abundant and everyone comfortable, and then it will rise even higher. Still within the same document, Khmer ERN 0008491 through 92, French 00343378 through 79, English 00850977. Under the heading Economy and Crop Diversification. The party's direction is to diversify crops and build up the country. Workforce must be allocated to those who have free land to plant and diversify crops while in the meantime defending the country. Besides, workforce must be provided to any place with more work ability. Therefore, the northern zone and the northwest zone, and especially the northwest, have the most good qualities in terms of the geography of paddy land, which is good, and of which there is a lot of surplus. And they must receive more people. Second, possess capital in the form of rice with which they can sustain new people. And third, they have capital in terms of various kinds of implements. We are carrying out shock assaults to diversify crops in the northwest zone in order to, firstly, improve people's living conditions throughout the country, and secondly, to find new capital for purchasing materials to be used in building the country and diversifying agricultural and industrial production. If we send workforce to other places with less work ability, we will lose both flute and drum, time and effort, in so doing. Our fighting guideline is not right. So we must fight at the right place, where it is effective, because we carry out the policy of self-reliance. We must find capital on our own. And then under a heading, workforce arrangement. The northwest zone has favourable and unfavourable conditions as follows. Under favourable conditions, in general, the land is fertile and also good, though without using fertilisers. Secondly, the area is a huge plain with no mountains. Easy for us to organise the workforce, to do ploughing and to use water. Next. There is also a workforce existing. It is better if adding up more force to the zone. The existing force also has experience in diversifying crops. And lastly, there are some machinery and tools. The shortfall points to be considered are on the next Khmer page, or on Khmer page 0008492, French 00343379, English 00850978. So the shortfall or points to be considered. Firstly, not yet in mastery of the water problem. Second, its human being strength is insufficient. The labour force must be increased. 300,000 or 400,000 more would not be enough. The current strength of 1 million persons can only work 50%. It's imperative to add 400,000 or 500,000 more. The next document on forced movement 2 is E3/781. The first extract will be Khmer ERN 0007 2367, French 0054 3745, and English 005 23569. This is a document, it's a Communist Party of Kampuchea document dated in September 1975. It's document number 3, and the heading on the document is Examination of Control and Implementation of the Policy Line on Restoring the Economy and Preparations to Build the Country in Every Sector. Under a heading, Control and Implementation of the Party's Policy Line to Build Agriculture, the objective is stated in these terms: to examine the control of, the absorption of, and the implementation of the party's agricultural line to push agriculture to expand in a great leap to the maximum according to the instructions of the party. Next red box. We must quickly prepare to transform from backward agriculture to modern within 10 to 15 years. This is the objective. If we look at this time-wise, we see that as being very fast. Next page, Khmer reference 00072368, French 0054375, English 00523570. These objectives are set at a very high level. We must really work urgently to achieve these objectives. This matter demands the preparation of forces in every sector to be really orchestrated. Machinery, fertilizer, water, etc. And further on that same page, this text. Furthermore, we have cooperatives, which are the property of the collective. It's easy to arrange everything. Today, we have only people's cooperative ownership and state ownership. Next reference, Khmer ERN 0007239, and the corresponding pages have moved on one page in English and French. As for the Chinese experience, they set up cooperatives at a high level during 1956 through to 1958. They continue to set up the collective. China has been liberated for, and a figure is given in years, and has still not yet organise to solve the rice field dikes. But as for us, we already have cooperatives. On Khmer page ERN 000-72370, French 005443747, and English 00523571. There are these entries. Under the heading, the mass movement in implementing the agricultural line of the party during the past 4 to 5 months, leading up to May 1975, or from May 1975. How have we absorbed? How must the party push further? After the party disseminated the line, 2 movements appeared. This movement is stronger than before the coup. Our party and our people strive to implement this line. In a situation of shortages in all aspects of life, including shortages of supplies to produce food, and cattle, water buffaloes and hose, etc. The movement is strong, and this leads us to believe that next year we can solve the livelihood of the people. This year we have done a lot of other good work too, and an example is given. There are some places where the forces of the people have been assembled and where they have actively produced food day and night. Therefore, all the new people, new and old, work vigorously without hesitation. Another example is given. Other places have begun the opening stages of preparation for agriculture in a new way, making modern paddy dikes to maintain water, to husband water. We must push to make many additional paddy dikes in low-lying land. Mr. President, I see the time. If I am to finish this document, it will take, I think, more time than the court will find acceptable. Can I explain that I have about another 8 pages of material to cover, and then a very brief video to play? Given the time, is this an appropriate stage, Mr. President, to complete today's hearing?
President, thank you. The time is appropriate for adjournment today. We will adjourn now and resume tomorrow morning. And tomorrow, the chamber will again give the floor to the prosecution to make their presentation regarding documents related to the second phase population movement. And after that, the lead co-lawyers will have the opportunity to make additional documents supplementary to what has been presented by the prosecutions regarding the main 4 topics. And after, the defense teams will be given opportunities to comment or to express their objections to the documents presented by the prosecution and the lead co-lawyers. I noticed the lead co-lawyer is on his feet. Mr. President, in fact, tomorrow we will have documents for our presentation. However, I'd like to seek clarification from the Chamber regarding the availability or affordability of time for us to make presentation later on. In fact, document hearing was scheduled for February, but it was rescheduled through the current proceedings. For that reason, we have not yet prepared all the documents and made them ready and available for this week's presentation. I'd like to seek advice from the Chamber. Maybe we have another opportunity in the near future for document presentation. Thank you. President, the Chamber will now respond to the queries by the National Lead Co-Lawyers for Civil Parties on the changes of scheduling for the document hearing. As we have noticed, various parties, particularly the prosecution, tries their best to make their presentation. And tomorrow we would advise the lead co-lawyers to try their best for the document presentation. And in case of necessity, the Chamber will consider at a later stage. Security guards, you are instructed to take Mr. Evidentiary back to the detention facility and have him return to the holding cell downstairs with the facility of audio-visual linked so that he can follow the proceeding. And it should happen prior to 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.